Hey, good morning, guys. This is Dana, aka Mac Caster. This morning, we're going to talk about setting up Reaper for podcasting. Now, the first thing you want to do after you install Reaper is we're just going to come to the desktop. This is I'm using Windows 8. I'm going to click on New Folder, and I'm just going to name it Audio. Okay, now I'm doing this for this instructional video, but over here I name mine Reaper Projects. So, but I'm going to show you how we're going to find these folders. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back into Reaper. And we're going to come up to where it says Options. We're going to come down to where it says Preferences at the very bottom. We're going to look on the left-hand side. Now, every one of these are adjustable. Reaper is a doll that you can absolutely customize so much. And that's not what this tutorial is about. But we're going to go under Audio and Devices. And now we're going to come to the audio system. We're going to choose the wave out. Now, the microphone that I'll be using for Reaper is the ATR USB microphone. Okay? And that's what we're going to use. Now, the output device, if you don't use this microphone, it should be the speakers that are on your PC. And this is where you're going to plug your headphones in. Now, because we are using this microphone, I'm going to use the speakers on the ATR USB microphone because behind it, it has a place to where you can actually plug in your headphones or your earbuds. And that just makes it to where it's absolutely zero latency. You know, as soon as you hit play, you're going to be listening to it. Now, we want the sample format. We're going to use 24. The input channels, this right here will be designated by the wave out. Okay? Leave all this the way that it is. This is default. We're going to come here, and we're going to choose highest. And then we're going to check this box that says allow projects to override device sample rate. Okay. Okay, guys. So now that we've set our microphone up through our options, we're going to come over here and simply left mouse click twice. And that puts in our track. Now we're going to come here. We're going to hit down. We're going to go input mono, which is going to be on the left. And that's where we want it. Okay. Now, up here on the left-hand side is your record and arm and disarm. We're going to click it, and that's going to activate our input meter. Okay? Now, as you can see right down here, this is my voice. This is the level coming in, and you can see the red light is on. Now, at this time, we want to be between a -6 and a -12 dBs for our input. Now, see right here where it says in? Okay? This is your pre-FX, or I'm sorry, your input, and it's basically just shows you the same thing. Okay, our input is audio or MIDI, and we want that. Okay, so how do we get this level up to where we want it? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to Windows. We're going to right mouse click on the speaker icon, and we're going to click on Recording Devices. And there's our microphone right there. Okay. Now, there's nothing showing on it right now. That's because I have the levels turned all the way down. So we're simply going to double click where it says the ATR USB microphone. And that's going to bring up our properties. Now we're going to come to where it says levels. And that's what we're looking for. Now, as I move this to the right, you're going to see this meter right here start to come up. And you want to set this talking in a normal tone. Okay, just like that you would be podcasting. So we're just going to left mouse click and grab it. And then I'm going to do a simple count. Test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5, test 6, test 7, test 8. Now, as you can see right there, okay, I'm all the way up. So I'm going to back this off just a hair. Okay, somewhere around 97, 98%. Now, if I come down to the meter here, I can simply just click it. It's going to reset it, and then it's going to show me what I actually have, and there we are. We're at a -9.4. Now, I'm going to click on it again and be silent, and that's what's going to show now what our room tone is, or our noise floor. Okay, so let's watch the meter again. So it's a negative 41 dBs. Okay, now we are ready to start podcasting. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come up to File, where it says Project Templates, and we're going to say Save Project as Template. And we're going to name this My Podcast. Okay, and then save. Now, what happens is, when we close Reaper out, okay, because we've saved this setup just like it is, I'm going to go ahead and close it and then reopen it and watch. I don't need these. I don't need these. Now, when we open Reaper back up, it's going to come back up as the default, okay? Now, if you notice my master mixer now, my master track is over on the right-hand side, and that's fine. When you open yours, it's going to be on the left. You just simply right-mouse click, you come up to where it says master track, and then when you say show in Docker, it's going to put it back over there, but this is the way that I have mine set up, and we'll get into that as well. But what I'm going to do is come up here. I'm going to come to Project Templates. I'm going to click on My Podcast. And there it is. See, the track is already armed. We can look at our meter and see what our input is. We can check it again. And it's just that easy. Okay? So, let's go ahead and let's lay down a little audio track. Now, I'm going to come up. Right here, I apologize, because normally this is sitting up here, and I'm going to just show you real fast. If I sound a little confused, it's not that I am, but normally this is what mine looks like, okay? This is what I do. So as I'm doing this, as you can see, and then on my themes, which is option, themes, I downloaded this up there from Reaper. I use what's called Blackmore. So that's what mine looks like. It's just easier on my eyes, okay? So this, I would right mouse click, and I'm going to, where are you at? There's a place up here. Let me come off of it right here, if I can find it, because I'm going to have to set this back. It says dock in main, docked transport, right here, docked transport position, above ruler. This is your ruler up here, okay? And this is where mine normally sets. I like to have it up here out of the way, okay? So, like I said, we're going to go back, though, to where you're going to be. Project Templates, My Podcast. And then I'm going to come back up here to the options, themes, default. And then I'm going to come up here, take this, docked, return, top of main window, bottom of main window. And see, you can position this anywhere that you want it to get it exactly how. Remember, I was telling you about below average default. You can customize this however you want it, guys. This software is incredible, okay? So, we've got our track down. So let's go ahead and do some recording. So right here, okay, that big red target button is record and watch. And I apologize, I want to stop that. When you hit this button, okay, I'm going to come up here on this. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm simply going to right mouse click and then hit remove items. When you start your recording, you want to give yourself at least 2 seconds of what's referred to as room tone. Okay, just be silent, because we're going to use that 2 seconds of that file at the end of this video, and I'll show you why. So we're going to hit record, count to yourself, 1001, 1002, and then you can start laying down your audio, okay? So as I'm doing this podcast, we can clearly see now that our waveform is being laid down, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we can work with that file right there. Now, it's going to come up and say, save all, rename selected. You can sit there and click this. You can click rename selected. You're going to call it, and see it's coming into my Reaper projects, okay? my podcast. Now, try not to leave any open spaces. Nope. Hit the wrong key. Because what happens is when you leave these open spaces, it's going to put a bunch of weird symbols in there. And this is going to affect, your SEO. You want to name it. If you're podcasting about your business, put your business name up there, My Business Episode 1, My Business Episode 2, My Business Financial Report, whatever you want to name it. But right now we're just going to call it My Podcast. And then we're going to click Save. All. Now, at this time, there's our audio track. We can unarm it now, so we don't have to worry about the meter. We're going to hit back, and there's our 2 seconds. Now, this is another thing I love about Reaper. On your mouse wheel, there's 2 ways to do this. If I scroll down, see, it just brings that file right into view. If I scroll up, okay, it makes the file to where you can zoom in on it. So we're going to work on this file, and we're going to grab it, left mouse click, and just pull it down. Now we have a great big waveform that we can look at. Okay? So why do we want these 2 seconds? Well, this is why I'm going to show you. Now, if you come up to the ruler area, or you come down, I would have to make the track smaller. Down here, you're going to left mouse click, and just drag, and then release. Now we've got a little window here that we can actually trap this audio, okay? So we're going to come down to this button right here, which is your toggle repeat. Now, as we play this, it will not leave this window. Now, you can hit the play. I use the space bar. That's the shortcut. Hit the space bar starts it. Hitting the space bar will stop it on your keyboard. Okay? So you've got 3 meters now that you can see right here. But we want to know exactly what that noise floor is. Okay? We just want to know what it is. Trust me. And so now that we know that, what I'm going to do, see right here where it says FX? I'm going to click on this, and it's going to open this up. Okay? Now, JS, all of this comes with Reaper. Now, if you click on Caucus, it's going to come up, and these are all of their plugins. Okay? Again, all this comes with Reaper. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the summed meter. Okay? So I'm going to come back to recently used. Like I said, you can find it up here in the JS. Let me just go ahead and do that. And it's either going to be under meter or summed. There's a faster way for you to get there. There's a lot of shortcuts. I don't use them because I just go to my recently used. Out of all of these guys, there's only about 4 or 5 at the most that you're ever going to use. Okay? So right up here, it says VU meter summed, and that's what we want to pick up. Okay? And there it is. So we're just going to double click this again. It's going to pop it out of the window. We're going to set it over here to the side. Now, you see this little push pin? We're going to click it down. And what it's going to do is it will keep it here. And that's what it does. Even though you can still grab it and move it by left mouse clicking, what I'm going to do now is, if I wanted to, I could go up here and save this into our actual template. Okay? But now let's look at the meter here. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. I'm going to bring it over. And now it gives us just a better reading of what our noise floor is. Okay? So let's go ahead and just watch it. And that's a negative 56 dBs. Okay? So at this point, I know what my noise floor is because eventually we're going to gate this out. But I want to show you how to find it. Okay? And this is how you find your noise floor. So I'm going to go ahead and untoggle this. Now the next thing we're going to do at this point is come up to extensions and we're going to grab our loudness. Okay? We're going to click on the track and then we're going to analyze this track. And as you can see, it's coming in at a negative 22.9 lofts. Our range is a 2.9, and our true peak is a negative 5.8. Don't worry about these other meters. You don't need to worry about this whatsoever. So we're going to click on this. We're going to right mouse click. We're going to hit normalize, and we're going to come in at a negative 17.5, and we're going to hit normalize. Now see, all these numbers just changed. Okay, now we're at a negative 17.5 lufs. Our loudness range pretty well stays the same, but our true peak is now a negative 4 or 0.4 dB total peak. So we want that. Now we have our audio at the proper level. Okay, we can work on the true peak here in a second. That'll be one of the last things that we do. Okay, so at this point, we don't need this anymore. We can go ahead and close it. We're going to come up the file and we're going to hit render. Okay, now see, if you remember on my desktop, there it is. Okay, at this point, we're going to take and name our file, and we're just going to call it my podcast. Because now it's going to go into the folder, like I said, that we have set up. My podcast MP3. We're going to do it in a stereo. We're going to do it at 44,100 hertz. We're going to do it as an MP3. And we're going to check this box that says Add Rendered Item to New Tracks in Project. And we're going to click Render One Project. Or one file, sorry. And there it is. Now, if we're not satisfied with these readings, we would hit back. Okay? But we are satisfied with it, so I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to click Overwrite. Now, once I hit close, I will not be able to overwrite this file, and that's why I wanted to show you that. So we're just going to hit close, and there it is. Now, we don't need this top file anymore. We're going to hit Remove Tracks. And there is our waveform in stereo. It's just that easy. Okay? Now, let's look at what the background noise is. Okay? We're going to simply just click on the FX. We don't need this. Oh, I apologize. We did need that. I was looking for the meter. Now, since we've pulled this up, if you notice over here, it's going to say recently used. And that's where the fastest way you can come up. Go to that one. There's your meter. Okay. Now we're going to hit our toggle button again, and we're going to watch what it is now. Okay, now we're at a negative 51.1. We need to know this. You don't need to write this down, but just remember around a negative 50. So let's untrap it now, and let's listen to our audio. Okay, so now that we know we have a good reading, we have a good input, I'm going to just click on the track. I'm going to scroll back down, and there's our audio. So we don't need, this is the first part's called a head. The end of your file is called a tail. Okay, just like a puppy dog. So we're going to come up and grab this. See my cursor change? Okay, we're just going to slide it. Now we're just going to grab that and bring it over. We don't need this window anymore, so we're just going to close this up and it will disappear. Now we're going to left mouse click on the track. See, I can move this track anywhere that I want to. And then we're going to come and do the tail the same way. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is your audio file for this particular training video. Okay? So now that we have it at the proper level, we want to take some of the noise out of the back of it. We want to do a little EQing with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply some FX. Okay? Okay, guys. So now that we have our file, let's go ahead and do a little work on it. Okay? We're going to come back to the very beginning and let's listen to it. In this area right here, you're going to hear some breaths and you're going to hear me say, okay. I want to take the breath out of the file. And I also want to remove where I said, okay. So let's go ahead and listen. So as I'm doing this podcast, we can clearly see now that our waveform is being laid down. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this and we can work with that file right there. So what do? We're going to come here where it says, okay, we're just going to zoom in on it a little bit. There it is. We're going to come to our keyboard now and we're going to hit the S key. And what that does, that simply splits the audio. Okay, now we can put it on another track. We can bring it up. It's real simple to do. That's not the purpose of this video though. So we're going to come to this side of it, and we're going to come to this side of it, and we're going to hit S again. We're going to highlight that and just hit delete. We're going to grab our file and bring it over. Okay. And there we are. Now we're lined up. So let's go ahead and listen to that part. Form is being laid down. So I'm going to go. See, now it is magically gone. So we're going to scroll back up. And let's go ahead and add another FX now. We're going to use a gate. And there it is, the JS noise gate. Okay, we'll go ahead and everything that we do in Reaper, guys, pay attention. Because we want this meter to be behind everything. It's going to be the very last thing in this chain. This is called the FX chain. So we're going to highlight it and just move it up. And see, now we have the gate. And now the meter will tell us what the volume is after everything goes through the gate. So we'll double click this. And now it's over here. And let's go ahead and bring it out of the way. And there it is. Okay. Now, as you can see, there are no presets with this. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it like that. Okay. No preset. Now, remember our threshold? Remember we said, okay, we're going to remember this number was around a -50. Well, we know that our volume, our audio when we speak is coming in between a -6 and a -12. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this threshold now, and we're just simply going to move it. Let's say, let's bring it down to a -30. Somewhere in there is close. You can also come over here, highlight this if you want to get exact. And we're going to hit delete. I'm going to hit the backspace. I'm going to just simply hit 30, and then I'm going to click off of that. And now we're set that at 30. Okay. So now let's go ahead and listen to this file again. So as I'm doing this podcast, we can clearly see now that our waveform is being laid down. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we can work with that file right there. The breath has now been taken out. So now what is our background noise? What is the level now? Well, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to come up here, like I said, in the ruler or down below, and we're going to make us a window. And then we're going to come down. We're going to hit the toggle button. We're going to trap that. We're going to reset our meter. And now let's watch what it says. We're going to hit the space bar. And then I'm going to move this window in. Now look. You see, guys, it's not even picking it up on the meter. Okay? So now we have edited, we've taken out the breaths, and we have also shortened the head and the tail, and we've also taken out the okay that we did not want in the podcast. So, at this point, let's go ahead and do a little EQing. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to come back to the FX. We're going to add, and we're going to come up here and we're going to find our real EQ. See where it says VST? You'll find it right there in that file. Okay, these are all your VST plugins. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here. I've invested in a lot of plugins, and I had to go back and actually train myself using Reaper. Okay, but they're really good, guys. There's some that I do not use. I just prefer other plugins. But I'm telling you right now, for the money, you're going to be able to do so much with this software. So let's go ahead and grab us an EQ. Okay. Now remember the meter. Okay. Now we're going to drag it down. We want that meter to be the very last thing that we see in this chain. Okay. So we've taken out the noise. We've got our EQ, and then we've got our meter. So let's go ahead and bring up our EQ. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just bring this down. Now, all these are presets. These come with Reaper, just like you see them. Okay? So we're going to come down to this stock track default. And then I'm just going to reset the defaults, and that's what you're going to see. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come to channel 1, okay, or button 1, or the first one, frequency 1, whatever you want to do. You'll see it sitting right about that 100 hertz, okay. Down here at the bottom, you want to show tabs. That's what these are. And you also want to say show grid. And that way you'll know exactly where you're working at. Okay. Now, number 1 is labeled as a high pass. Okay. And you have these. So we're going to leave it at that high pass. You see there? It just cut that whole frequency out. And we want that. Okay. When you hear your audio, what you do not want to do. Okay. We're just going to make this a regular band now. Don't raise that bass. Okay. You want to sound like Wolfman Jack. Wolfman Jack sounds like Wolfman Jack, because Wolfman Jack has that type of voice. Now, that is the wrong procedure, guys. If you look down here, you'll see when you raise this up, look at the meter now. Okay? Now, we can take this out with the peak limiter, but that's not the point. The point that I'm making is this. When you do your EQing, if you want to do it in a professional way, you do not have to move these more than 1 or 2 dBs at the most. Okay? You just don't. If you have to, then you did your recording wrong. So now we're just going to come back into the audio here, and now I'm going to go ahead and trap this whole thing so we can work on it, and I'm going to show you why. And this way I don't have to constantly hit the start and stop. Now, as I play this, okay, I'm going to toggle the button again. I'm going to start playing with my EQ, with my frequencies, because here again, it's a very personal thing. You're going to set this up to where you think it should be. But I promise you this, here again, okay? You ever listen to somebody, or have you ever had your voice recorded and you go, wow, do I really sound like that? You know, the way that you hear yourself talk is not the way it's going to sound when you listen to yourself on a audio file. Keep that in mind. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this and watch. So as I'm doing this podcast, we can clearly see now that our waveform is being laid down. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we can work with that file right there. So as I'm doing this podcast, we can clearly see now that our waveform is being laid down. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we can work with that file right there. So as I'm doing this podcast, we can clearly see now that our waveform is... And that's it, guys. Okay? Now, to me, and I have one that's stock, and I use this particular plugin with Reaper because I like the way that it works. Now, if you notice on the right-hand side, this is called a low pass. Okay? There's no need for me to have these other frequencies in here because they do not really show up with my voice. If it's not needed, take it out. So as you can see, I barely added 0.6, only a half a dB here. And then I've lowered this one a negative 1.2 dBs. Okay? So I'm satisfied with that. So we're going to go ahead and take this window now. We're going to get rid of it. We don't need it anymore. So let's go ahead and listen to the file one more time. We're going to bring up our meter. And let's give it a listen. So as I'm doing this podcast, we can clearly see now that our waveform is being laid down. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we can work with that file right there. Okay? Now, and I'm going to tell you something. By pure luck, it came out dead on a negative 1 dB. Normally, this does not happen. If you notice at the very beginning of the file, you'll hear that little, okay? All I've got to do is grab this, come up, move it over, and I can lock these together, guys. Like I said, that's not the purpose of this training video for right now. We're simply laying down our first track, We're doing a little mixing and mastering. So now let's listen to the beginning again and see if that breath has now been removed. That little at the beginning. And it's gone. Okay? It is absolutely gone. So, like I said, normally this does not happen to where it comes out. So what happens if our volume is a little low? Okay? What happens if we say, I'm coming in, my output, I don't like the way that it is. And guys, that's what this slider is for. Okay? So we know when we analyze the track, and let's go ahead and do that again. We're going to come up to extensions. We're going to come to loudness, and we're going to analyze the selected track. We're at a negative 17.8, okay, and that's right where we want to be. I shoot for the center, okay, I shoot for the negative 18, and that gives me plenty of room to play around because we're, a negative 16 to a negative 20 lofts. My loudness range is a 2.5. My true peak is a 0.9. So let's say, okay, what if I want to set this at a true negative 16 lofts? That's where I want it. Well, that's going to raise the true peak. But here again, we're not concerned with that. That's what we're going to do. So at this point, you come over to this slider right here. Okay, we're going to double click it. We're going to bring it back to 0. We're going to right mouse click it. Now, because we came in at a negative 17.8, I'm going to add 1.8 dBs to this. So as you can see, we're on the plus side, 1.8. Okay? Now, if you notice right over here, that moved my slider up. So now I'm at a negative 1.8. So now let's go ahead and analyze this track again. See there? We're at a negative 16. True peak, again, this normally does not happen. Stayed here, so we're going to go ahead and leave it just like this. We've met all the parameters set forth with the AES. Okay? So here again, we don't need this. We're going to come up, now that we've got everything the way that we want it, we're going to hit render, and then we're going to go My Podcast, boom, mastered. And then we're going to spit the file out. We're going to render it. Now you see where it came at the 0.8? This is, and I was hoping it would do this, guys. I truly was. So we don't like that. So we're going to hit back. If we hit close, we cannot rename the file. So we're going to click back. We're going to click this down. Now we can do this one of two ways. We're going to come over to the master track or this track, and we're going to add what's called a peak limiter. Okay? So let's go ahead and add it to the master track. And there it is, the MP1136 peak limiter. And that's just exactly what it looks like. And here again, this comes with Reaper. Now, the default is a negative 12. So we're going to play with this, and you have to, guys. You have to play with your plugins. We're going to come back up. We're going to hit render. Now, because we hit back and we did not save it, we can leave this just like it is. And now we're going to watch this meter. See, now we came in at a negative 1.8. So again, our range is a negative 1. That's what we want. We do have half of a dB tolerance. So we're going to come over here now and we're going to come to the right. What that setting is right now, I can't tell you. Okay, we're going to clear our meters. We're going to hit, where are we at here? We're going to hit back and then we're going to render it again. Overwrite. Now we're at a negative 1.3. Okay, we're done. We have just finished our first podcast. All right. God bless. Stay safe. Take care. And in lesson 2, we're going to get into a lot more detail as far as mixing multiple tracks, which is going to be your intro, your outro. If somebody wants to send you what's called a mid-roll, if they want to advertise their podcast, you can go ahead and introduce them. And what it does, it just creates more listeners for your show. Okay? we are out of here.